good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome to 2024 and welcome to the first stream of 2024. And don't worry, by the headline, you might be thinking, is this going to be his last? It isn't, but man, am I fed up, and I'm going to talk about that a bit tonight. So I hope everyone is safe and well. Tonight's subjects are going to be I can't do this anymore, and I'm going to explain to you what that is. We're going to talk about, off the back of that, why DJI is just so amazing. We're going to take a look at some AT32 flight controllers. I do have a video coming on this. We're finally in the proper world of AT32 because Betaflight has released version 4.5 RC1, which does bring proper support for these flight controllers, and we're just going to talk a little bit about what benefits there are. We're going to then ask who the hell actually is Neutron RC, because I'm still struggling to figure out who this company is. And then we're going to talk about whatever else comes up tonight as well, including some of the stuff that I've got on my bench here, because I've had a delivery of some stuff, and I'm just going to talk about some of the things that I end up ordering from varying places, actually. I ordered myself another Betaflight short saver. I have a few of them, and my existing one is coming towards the end of life. I keep breaking the cables and repairing it, and I've got heat shrink tubing on it, but I felt it was time for a spare. And props. There seems to be a lot of different props out there at the moment, and interesting really on people's thoughts on some of these ethics props made by HQ, I believe. We've got the HQ props made by HQ, and then we've got T-Motor selling some cheap props as well. And there seems to be a load of cheap props on the market right now. Now, yesterday I should say, was the first time that I've flown for potentially 2 months with the weather that we've had here in the UK. I did fly a quad yesterday. Let me show you what I flew. I flew this quad yesterday, which is the Chris Rosser build, but I'm having to cover up bits that I'm not allowed to show you yet. But I did fly the Chris Rosser build, and I will talk about that a little bit as well. And I've just really been tidying things up on my side. And I've also, finally, been building myself a new home server for all of my data storage. And if you can hear any noise, it's rattling away down there because it's currently moving 6 terabytes of data, and we might even talk a little bit about that as well. But yes, so I hope you are all safe and well, and I hope you've had an interesting and a good happy new year. It's been a couple of weeks off, obviously, as a result of the holiday, and whilst there's been a little bit of news from the Cadex side of things, and that sort of lines my first subject, and we will talk about that a little bit as well. But overall, it's been fairly quiet, and there hasn't been a dramatic amount going on. Now, as always, before we get into the main subject, I'm also here to answer any questions that you may have as well. So if you do have any, please do put them in the chat when I grab some space, and we will talk about them. Super chats are welcome, but they're not needed for me to be able to answer a question. And I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who is also a channel member here as well. Now, the first subject tonight is I can't do this anymore. And what that is get fucked around, messed around by manufacturers sending me half-baked products to review. And what I mean by this is this. I have spent, in the last 2 weeks, an inordinate amount of time with all of this messing around on the Cadex Goggles X. And look, these comments are not specifically aimed at Cadex, but what they're aimed at is manufacturers sending what they're saying is products for review that basically are not remotely ready. Now, let me just grab my cup of tea. Now, what I mean by this is I ain't talking about products that are deemed pre-production. I'm not talking about products where it's clearly said to me, hey, this is an early one. There are things we're going to change. There are things we're going to do. Here's the info. This is products turning up, you then receiving something like 5 or 6 firmware updates in the release cycle, and then you're being expected to put out a review 1 week later. And frankly, I am done with it. Now, this all stems from the Cadex Goggles X. The whole release was just a crap show from the second the KOLs, if I want to call myself that, or people had them. And it has left a really sour taste in people like mine mouths when I'm sitting here giving information on a product that then turns out not necessarily to be true. And let me be clear, Cadex are not the only one doing this. This is becoming an epidemic of biblical proportions in FPV. Now, I want to be clear. There are companies and people who send me stuff which is pre-release that we talk with, and it's great. It's fine. There's no problems there. You work through the issues. That is fine. What I'm talking about is a product turning up basically with very little info, with no support on the back end, and then you suddenly send a bunch load of firmware updates, and then you're given close to no time to release it. And I'm done. I am fed up of it. And what I'm saying is this. I am not going to not review these products. I'm probably not going to review them. You cannot do a review on something that you've had. You can't do a review on a product that needs extensive testing in 3 days. So, moving forward, I'm going to be changing how I do things. And some of this will be, there will be no day one release video if I haven't had time to do it. And that'll be what it is. Or secondly, the day one release video is going to be an overview with no commitment, but with a very clear message of this manufacturer's previous behavior. And what I'm talking about there would be this, for instance. If Cadex were to release a new set of goggles tomorrow, man, would there be something to talk about in that video before we got on. And it's got out of hand. And it's at the stage where it is making people like me, it brings into question my integrity. When I'm sitting here saying, hey, this looks great, and then the product you get is different. And that is largely what has happened here with the Goggles X. The product that many people ended up with is slightly different to the product that I got to test. And look, I'm not saying this kind of thing is prevalent, but it's getting worse. And it's becoming something that we have to stand out and stand aside and say, no, this isn't good enough. And look, frankly, with any future product around like what we've seen from Cadex, for instance, I will have no choice but to put in a very clear statement saying this manufacturer has a history of releasing products with a number of unknown issues on day one and may take some time to be resolved, because I don't know what else I can say. Now, there are companies in FPV that I know, right, I can get a product, and even if it's faulty, you're going to get one that generally works. And I'll name a brand of that, Radiomaster, okay? I can't think, I only know of one situation Radiomaster had where they made an error, and that was their receivers with the diode was in the wrong place. And it was causing problems on some radios with regards to the XT30 input. But that was a error, that wasn't an ongoing design issue. Generally, though, a Radiomaster product, I will get a pre-release one, and what you will get is exactly the same. Basically the same. That stands for many, many brands out there, but there is no question that the likes of Cadex are really beginning to make it difficult for me to release a video on day one. And I am bloody annoyed. I really, really am frustrated because it causes us issues. So, with regards to future reviews on Cadex products, what you're probably going to get from me is 2 videos. You're going to have an overview of the manufacturer's spec and information with some opinions on what I can confirm. So if I can rip it apart, we'll rip it apart. But I'm not going to give you an opinion anymore on if you should buy it, because I can't say the product you're going to get is the same as the product I've sent for review. And frankly, in the video, I'm going to have to say something along the lines of the product that I've received is an early production product with X issues, and this brand has been known to release products with issues that may take some time to resolve. And you should bear this in mind before purchasing, because I don't know what else I can do. I really don't know what else I can do anymore. I'm annoyed with a number of companies. I'm annoyed with the way things are going. I'm frustrated with Cadex. Beyond belief, I'm frustrated with Cadex when companies don't necessarily realize the effect that they have on us. Do I think the Walksnail V1 goggle is a complete product? It is. The V1 goggle is very good, but there's a reason for that. They didn't bloody make it, we believe. As we understand, it was a Fat Shark production product. Hence the reason the SD card's in a stupid place. Now, these comments may mean Cadex don't send me anything again. I don't care. I don't give a shit anymore. I'm fed up. I'm fed up. I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed at seeing comments saying, clearly these people are shills. Clearly these people don't test things. Clearly these people are just being paid. I'm fed up of the accusations. I'm fed up of having to spend time and time digging into stuff that they should have done on day one. And there is a real set of eyes aimed at Cadex on this. Look, no, affiliate. Look, people affiliate hosts. Look, I have the Cadex affiliate scheme, and I don't regret it, because largely everything I've said is correct, and largely I've been very clear that if people have a problem, don't listen to Cadex's nonsense. Tell them you want another set of goggles. And I've been posting that on Facebook. I've been posting that on Discord. And there's been people saying, oh, wait and see. No, don't wait and see. If you're not happy with it, send it back and tell them for your money. Don't fuck around. Let's just get this done. And overall, the overheating issue is still very minor in the grand scheme of things. Not everyone has it. But what you end up in a situation is, if you can't trust the product that you get is the same product that the user's going to get, it puts you in a very, very difficult position. And it's just, it's frustration. We're really lucky that we have affiliate marketing schemes. Yeah, and look, you've always got to be really clear. As long as you're clear and honest, you shouldn't have problems. And look, nothing I've ever done on this channel is about money. It never has been. It never will be. I'll burn it to the ground before I let a manufacturer dictate what I do. But anyways, as we are on the subject, as you have seen, Cadex have released a firmware update for the Goggles X, which does appear to have reduced power levels. For those who didn't see my video on it, I will just share with you one chart, actually. It's worth a look. It's just quite a short video. Let me just find the chart for you, though. That it does... they have reduced the power consumption of the goggles by a maximum of 14%. Did I delete... I hope I didn't delete the folder. Goggles X power. No, I didn't. Because if I'd have deleted the folder, it had my images in. Should I send back my deconstruct? You're the one person who can't send them back. Which is the chart I'm looking for? Oh, that's video. I don't want video. We'll share video though. I didn't want video. Or you wanted still image. That one is what I wanted. For those who did see, Cadex have managed to reduce the power consumption on the goggles, predominantly in Avatar HD mode. So it's down from sort of 645 to 555, 100 milliamp reduction there, and about 70 milliamp reduction in normal operating mode. Overall, they've been able to reduce the power down by about 14% on the static home screen and by about 11% on the avatar screen. HDMI is down a little bit, but not a great deal, but it should be enough to make the difference. Obviously, Cadex do have this heatsink coming soon. So we're going to have this heatsink available for the Cadex goggles. They're going to be shipping it out. I don't even know if I'm going to get one. Can I buy one? Can they send me one? I don't know. I've sent them a few messages on stuff that they haven't even replied to recently. So, it's going to be interesting to see if it makes a difference. What's clear is the power changes have definitely reduced the temps of the OLEDs for some people. The heatsink will definitely make a difference. What I haven't seen them do, though, is turn off the transceivers, do anything else that really I think is going to make a massive power difference. With the Goggles X, what you're not going to find is like a single fix for this. You're going to probably find a bit of this will do it, a bit of that will do it, and they'll probably, if they've got any sense, they'll add thermal pads to the back of the OLEDs, and if they've got any sense, they'll make some internal changes with regards to the cooling to help improve the boards. And if they do it now, it means they're not rolling this problem forward with more and more sales. The best thing they can do is do a re-roll of some changes on the PCBs if they have to, and make a change now that at least... if there are people who are having issues, you can give them, say, like a version 1.2 goggle that will have without the problem. Maybe if they turn off the OLEDs, the goggles will overheat. Yes, and don't forget, you can turn on your proximity sensor as well. So that's the situation today. We're just going to have to think. I've been using mine today. Overall, they're fine. And yesterday, mine operate pretty good. So someone had a question. I've come across a lot of conflicting charts. Do the DJI goggles V2 at 1080p 120 get the same latency as for... Yes. Resolution on the resolution doesn't have an impact on latency. Frame rate does. So the resolution doesn't change the latency. Goggles 2 is not like this. No, it isn't. And something really interesting, actually. And I was shared today some images from the inside of the goggles Integra. Let me find them a minute. And I want to show you something that I was shared. And the reason I was shared these, I will explain a little bit later. But I was shared with some images of the inside of the Integra, and something that was very apparent was the sheer size of the heat sinks on the back of the OLED. Dramatically bigger than anything Cadex have on the Goggles X. Now, I haven't got this image for the DJI Goggles 2, but I would expect it to basically be the same. But look at the size of the heat sinks on the back of these goggles. And here's just, I can already see the thermal design of these goggles in what DJI have done. So if you look here, right, there's a couple of images on these. Let me just find, right, so what you've got here is a fan in the nose area on the Integras, and this is the same on the goggles too, but it doesn't suck in air. It's sucking in air from this side a little bit, but it's predominantly sucking in air from that side. And look what they've got here, either side. They've got these metal ducts, right, that is there to channel the airflow around that heatsink coming in. So it's going to be sucking air in at the front vents down here at the front. So remember, the vents on these goggles are down here. So rather than that air just going straight into that fan, what they've done is they've put this shield here so it forces that air around those OLED heat sinks, in behind this fan, in the back end, and then up. So it comes in here. So the air is coming in at this bottom area down here, coming into there, round there, into this area behind, being sucked into the fan, exhausted up this channel in, which then comes out the top where there are heat sinks for the main PCB. DJI have absolutely nailed this cooling solution. And I mean nailed it. They are getting everything with a single fan. So if you remember, these are the vents at the bottom here. Look, here's the vents that you have on the input of the DJI goggles. Either side. So in at the bottom, up around this heatsink. So the airflow is going to be cooling those OLEDs. Then up and out. Really interesting to see. And look at the heatsink sizing. Just look at the size of those heatsinks compared to what we've got on the Cadex. Dramatically bigger. Dramatically bigger. So it just goes to show DJI have put a lot of design consideration in with these goggles. They really have. What is nice in these images of the Integra, this gives you a really, really good look at the internal front antennas. The X marks the spot on the front. These are your linear antennas on the front of the goggles, on the top front of the fan. You can see them there. Quite cool to see it. And then you can see the OLED heat sinks there. And then the shields around there. But it just shows that DJI have really put a lot of effort into making sure that everything's in the right place. That's the top PCB on the DJI, so you'll have your RF chipset and everyone. GPS on top, happy red. Yes, that's where the GPS is on the Integras, right there on the top. On the goggles too, that there is where the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth board is. So DJI have basically swapped the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth board for a GPS module, is what they've done. But really cool to see. DJI are so far ahead of anyone else. And actually, what DJI haven't really done well is, so the Integras and all of the DJI goggles have the same method for anti-fog, which is drawing air in and exhausting it. The problem with the goggles 2 and Integras is basically it draws too much of the air from the front. If you block the front ducts, it will improve the anti-fog. But what this does just show is, as someone said, is and this does lead me on to DJI is amazing. And this is quite interesting because there's been a lot of comments on why have we not seen more bind and flies with Cadex FPV systems built in? Why have we not seen more products? And Cadex released that statement saying DJI are putting pressure on people. I think that is complete BS. And here's the truth. And it was even posted by a person, I'm not naming him because he's someone I know. He is basically Mr. of that company. And he posted on one of the posts basically saying, this is why we don't make products, including these products from Cadex, and that is reliability. And look, whatever you say about DJI, whatever we say about the way they behave at times, DJI deliver a product that basically works. It might not have every feature you want, but it does work, and the reliability is close to just beyond a joke good. Even further from that, their warranty support now is so good, it's crazy. They are replacing ear units that have failed within a week. Anyone who has problems with their goggles, they'll just swap it out. DJI is on another level compared to everyone else. And look, love or hate the company, just looking at how Cadex have had this launch just shows how good DJI is. And it ain't over for them yet. Next products will be around the corner, probably February to March. And we're going to have to see. My local brick and mortar store confirmed if iFlight was to start making Walksnail binding flies, they would not continue to provide the product for there. I find that very hard to believe. I call BS. I wouldn't even believe what a local brick and mortar store, right, is not going to know that information. I promise you that. These conversations would never get out of China. There are rumors everywhere that DJI are putting pressure. I call BS, full bullshit on that. I even call BS on the GEP-RC screenshot that is circulating saying it. And I'm not saying the screenshot's wrong. I'm saying the person who said that is lying. I know too many people involved, and I've just heard it is complete and utter nonsense. And the reason is what you are seeing here today. What you have seen with the Cadex goggles, what you have seen with the various things is the reason. I would call complete BS. That info will never get to dealer level. I promise you. If that was happening, and bearing in mind, this doesn't make me biased, but people may think it does. I used to run the DJI Facebook groups with DJI staff. I know a lot of DJI staff well. Whilst DJI is a company who don't talk to me, I still know a lot of people there. That kind of thing. DJI push hard for sales. Don't get me wrong. Would DJI turn around and say, hey, if you buy 1,000 ear units, we will give you this discount? Hell yes. Of course they're going to play that game. That's just sales. DJI, though, saying, if you buy these, we're not selling that. It just doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. There's no logic in it at all. DJI's FPV side of things is so small, it's not even worth the conversation. Isn't it that similar to what happened with FR Sky and Radio Master? Yeah, there was some stuff for them, but you've got to take into account that's equal partners. Look, DJI is selling enough stuff that they don't even need to worry about Cadex. Cadex are a blip, a rounding number on the DJI Christmas party fund in comparison. It's not, it just doesn't make sense. There is no Goliath thing versus Goliath here. There are two very different businesses. DJI will sell more goggles to non-FPV product users, so Mavics, all of them, than Cadex will sell FPV systems. The numbers are just different. I have never believed for one moment this notion that DJI is putting pressure. Will individual people say stupid things at times in any business? Yes. Can I imagine a single DJI rep saying to someone, hey, if you don't sell them, I'll give you a discount. That could happen. But that can happen in any business. That can happen in any... That can happen anyway. DJI as having a policy of trying to put Cadex out of business, nah, I don't see it. Could an individual do stupid things and say stupid things? Yes, because individuals do and say stupid things all of the time. That's reality. Right, anyway, we have 323 people here tonight. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Please don't forget to give this stream a like. We've only had 44 of them, so I'd like to see that get towards 100 at some point. DJI products are aimed at the FPV hobby, a smaller slither of their income. Yeah, it's tiny. Tiny. I just don't buy this whole DJI is trying to put Cadex out of business. I'll tell you, here is the truth, right, on this. Here is the truth. If DJI was trying to put Cadex out of business, FPV would have probably had a 30 to 40% price cut. I have been around since 2012. Okay, in this industry, not just the drone industry, the FPV industry, but the drone industry. I've been around a very long time. I have seen DJI at war. I was sort of in the mix of it on RC groups and other places. When DJI go after a competitor, they price them out the market. So what happened when 3DR released the Solo? DJI just cut the price. They just cut the price. They will just outprice anyone based on their volume. If they're trying to get rid of them, I can tell you now, the DJI goggles would be cheaper than Cadex's, and the air units, they would have a cheaper air unit to match it. If DJI really wanted to go after them, they'd just nail them on price. So you'd have a $400 set of goggles, you know, a $399, $380, and you'd have a the John. I have over 20,000 posts on RC groups. People may not realize this. I do have over 20,000 posts on RC groups. That tells you how long I've been on there. It's probably close to 23,000, although it goes down because I'm not posting anymore. It counts down with age. Should we expect something from DJI under the Chinese New Year? I'm going to bet it will be before the Chinese New Year, but I don't know for sure. They could go the other side. There is talk of March 15th, 16th. Let me just look at a calendar. A Tuesday in March. Let's just have a look at a Tuesday in March. Here's a bet, right? Tuesday the 13th of... no, sorry, that's February. Ooh, Tuesday the 12th. 12th or 19th. It's usually Tuesdays. Then they would have that price for all the DJI they use. DJI don't care. DJI make more money than they know what to do with. If DJI was competing with Cadex, they'd have a sub $400 set of goggles and a $120 air unit. The fact they don't tells you they're not interested. DJI compete on price above everything else. Always have, always will. Always have, always will. That's DJI's motto. Someone just said just now... who remembers what GoPro drone was called? The Karma. The GoPro Karma. It was brilliant until the battery fell out. Usually about 30 seconds into your flight, I may add. Evening, Darkman. That's how long I've been around. So, if they do not compete over price, then they make bigger profits. You know, DJI it's always price for DJI. Karma still shows up at our field. Is the battery fallen out of it yet? As the front fell off, it should have one for the back's fallen off. Happy New Year. I sent you an email asking Connex. Yes, thank you, my friend. I will get back to you. I did see it, but things have been a bit crazy. And didn't Dr. Thrust and his team leave DJI for Bamboo? Yes. So for those who don't know, we'll go on a very quick history lesson. So there was a man on RC groups known as Dr. T, Dr. Turbo. Teo is his name. he's not. I wouldn't say a friend. I've spoke to him, never spoke to him in person, but spoke to him across RC groups a lot over the years. He was DJI's main propulsion guy. He was heavily involved in the original Mavic, heavily involved in the Inspire, and he was really an OG of DJI, very much responsible for being involved in turning DJI into the company they are today with regards to size, capabilities, and everything. Anyway, there's a lot of hoo-ha went on at DJI in about 2019 with regards to this corruption. There are allegations around that it wasn't corruption and it was an excuse for the Chinese government to walk in and take control of DJI as a whole, but I'll leave that there. That's what it's believed to have been. But a number of very good people left DJI, and one of those very good people, with a bunch of engineers, was Dr. T. And Dr. T went off and created Bamboo Labs. And this is what makes me laugh when people say, oh, Bamboo Labs came out of nowhere. How can they be this good? The second I saw the X1 and the P series, I knew Dr. T was behind it. A man created a company. It's a bit... Being surprised that Bamboo is successful is a little bit like being surprised that Paul McCartney had a successful solo career after the Beatles. He is an OG of DJI with immense amounts of engineering experience who went off to start his own company. Is it any wonder he has all of the contacts, a boatload of money in his pocket, I suspect, and free time on his hands? What's he going to do? Is it a shock that he built a company that is very, very good from day one? No, because he's got all of the history of DJI, what they did wrong in his back pocket to rely upon. He's got all of that. So, yeah, there's a bit of history for you. So when people say Bamboo Lab came out of nowhere, they didn't come out of the company might have come out of nowhere. The man behind them had probably 8 to 10 years of experience at the very top of the biggest drone company on the planet. So that, and is it any wonder he can make a product with motors that move? And basically it's all about moving motors. Let's be honest, the 3D printing is all about controlling motors. That's what 3D printing is all about. Whether it be the extruder, whether it be the mechanism, the moving in the system, it's all about controlling motors. Is it any wonder the man behind all of DJI's main propulsion systems made a very good 3D printer? It's not rocket science to see the links, is it? Anyway, so there's a bit of history. 04, 6 antennas. We don't know. However, 04 does use 6 antennas in their consumer drones. So they now have 6 antenna lanes available in the A3, in the newer stuff as well. Will we see 04 soon? Okay, so right, you have to be careful when we use the words 04. Will we see 04 standalones soon? Probably not. I'm not expecting to see an 04 air unit probably before June or July. What we don't know is DJI's plans. Okay, so there are new goggles in the works. That is for sure. And I can't wait for them to come out because I want to compare my rendering, my artist rendering to the original goggles. There are products in the works. There's a drone in the works. We know about that. What we don't fully publicly know at this time, what you don't fully know publicly at this time, is what that drone is. There then may be one or more other drones coming behind that. There then may or may not be air units coming behind that. Don't think, though, you're going to necessarily get an 04 standalone in February or March. That I would not say is reality. What you're going to get is a new set of goggles in the next 2 or 3 months with 04 capabilities based on the new S2 chipset. These goggles may or may not work with a number of the existing systems, but also future 04 systems as well. Was 03 announced together with a new drone? Yes, the 03 landed with the Avata. Actually, O3 technically landed with the FPV drone, because the FPV drone is O3. O3 landed with the FPV drone, but Goggles 2 landed with the Avata. Yeah, DJI Raptor told us the new drone looks exactly like the original FPV, but upgraded transmission. Yeah, I would say I'd be loose on exactly. That's all I'm going to say, okay? Depends what your interpretation of exactly is. What I would say is this. Does the Inspire 2 look exactly like the Inspire 1? That is what I'll leave with you. They both transition. They both look the same in many ways, but are they exactly the same? That's down to your interpretation. What I will say is this. There should be a new set of goggles February, March time. That will come with one or more drones. As for O4E units, there's no evidence of an O4E unit yet. Here's the crux to an O4E unit. DJI actually don't need to make an O4E unit because the O3E unit will work with the O4 system. Really, the only reason DJI have today to make an O4E unit is if they want to stop using the P1 chipset. You've got to take into account there aren't really any benefits to be had by moving to O4. There aren't really benefits to be had for O4 in an FPV platform. In a drone platform, yes, because you can get more antennas in it. You can do stuff like that. But E-unit wise, you're not going to want 4 antennas on an E-unit. You could do 2 2s though, like they've done today. For DJI, there are some good technical reasons to go to O4 for the new chipset. But that's for DJI. Look, the thing you got to understand is this. DJI are transitioning to a new chipset. So this is a bit like Intel. No, it's not. I'm not going to say Intel went to 13th to 14th gen because they didn't go to 13th and 14th gen. Joke there for the PC people. This is a bit like AMD moving from Zen 2 to Zen 3. Okay, there you go. For those who are following. So, and Zen 4. So, for DJI, this is really simple. What is the inventory of their P1 chipset? Nah, not even Intel, Apple's move. It's not even a big move. This is Zen 3 to Zen 4, Zen 2 to Zen 3. This is generational. But you've got to take this into account. DJI uses the P1 chipset. Sorry, rephrase. DJI used the P1 chipset in pretty much all of their consumer drones. The same chipset we use is in everything. And I mean everything. Even the DJI transmission unit is basically an O3E unit with a HDMI input. They sell it for 4 times the cost, yet it's an O3E unit with a HDMI input. So O4, they have started to transition all of their consumer drones on. They have some benefits in O4. More antenna lanes, up to 75 megabits a second data rates as well. And new algorithm, all happy days, blah, 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 blah. Okay? But with regards to FPV, it's less complex. It's more complex because you're not going to get the antennas. You could in the goggles, which they can do with an O4 set of goggles, but for the E-unit side of things, they did it. So the question is then, what is the supply of chipsets like? What is the inventory of the P1? If the inventory of the P1 is getting low, and bearing in mind you need this chipset for all of your products, you're now going to transition into a new chipset. How fast are you going to be able to transition all of your products into this new chipset? You can't just do it overnight. You can't just suddenly redesign everything at the same time. So you have a path. So then you have to look at, is there a benefit to DJI stopping using the P1 in the O3E unit to allow them to continue to be able to have supply for their enterprise drones, other products that make a lot more money? So for the DJI, the driving factor will be supply of the P1 And the question that none of us have the answer to is, will they do another tape out, or will they now just go, no, we've moved over to the S2? Because you imagine supply is getting low on the P1. Are they going to want to pony up $1 million or whatever it is for a tape out of an old chipset that they're going to stop using? So logic today would be they will want to transition as many products as they can over to the new chipset, but keep enough supply of the original chipset. Remote ID's got nothing to do with it. This is an SDR chipset. Remote ID doesn't come into it. All of the DJI chipsets can do remote ID. The current 03 can do remote ID. 02 can do remote ID. 02's an SDR. They can tell it to do whatever they want. Remote ID is just software for DJI. Turn it on, turn it off. The question is, do they need to keep enough supply of that chipset for the more expensive products that they've not got the ability to just go out there and redesign them in it? Because you've also got to take into account this becomes ecosystems of products as well, not just a single product. But for instance, take the DJI transmission system, which works with the Ronin, which works with a number of other products, so moving them all over will change. Do I think the 03 connector on the FC will change? God knows. With DJI, who knows? They could do anything. DJI haven't kept the same connector yet. So we have 3 air units with 3 different connections. Probably have GPS. No, look, we know what 04 as a chipset is. It's just a newer SDR. The question is what they intend to do. I would expect any new goggle to have GPS. Every goggle... any new goggle... It is a generational change. Any new goggle will probably have GPS. That's just a reality. It's cheap. Why not? As for the 04 air unit, it's... Look, this will down... They're going to have to spin a reason to give it to us, a benefit, something new. But, look, what you're not going to see, and this is things that people do need to sort of... You're not going to see a single board 03. Okay? That's not going to happen. It would be... It still would be hard, in my opinion, for them to do it. Whilst the new chipset is smaller, and I do have a picture of one which hasn't been shared publicly yet, so I can't show it, but we do know it is a slightly smaller footprint. It isn't enough to be able to get 03 onto a smaller board. Because you still have to have 2 chipsets. You still have the E3T. Nothing has changed on that. What you've got to take into account with 04 is what they haven't done is combine the E3T and the RF chipset. They're still separate. Really, more than anything, is they've taken stuff out of the 04 chipset, not put it in. But that's a whole other ballgame. And the other thing to understand is, and this is actually a really interesting point I made before I move on this, there was a lot of people asking me the other day we were talking about Discord, and look, there's always a lot of questions around Avatar VTXs burning out, HDZero VTXs burning out. Not so common on DJI, and the reason is this. DJI's power delivery on all of their VTXs is light years ahead of everyone else. They put so much more work into the power delivery on their VTXs than anyone else does. The result of that is the boards are supremely reliable. The downside of that is space. It takes up more space on the board. The Vista has an entire one side of a PCB pretty much dedicated to power. Same with the 03 air unit, in fact. Pretty much one whole side of the board is dedicated to power regulation. And what that gives is reliability. And then you start asking yourself, well, why do manufacturers use DJI? Because they don't bloody break. Whereas you might have a crash with a HDZero VTX or an Avatar VTX and it burns out. And that's a reality. And it isn't because the VTXs are not very good. They have done the bare minimum on voltage input capability. And as a result of that, there's no room for error. And as a result of that, I always say use these digital VTXs with a TVS diode because you want protection, because they've not baked it in. They are trying to make these VTXs as small as they can, and to do that, they've had to take off some of the protection, and as a result of that, they break. Whereas DJIs don't. And that's why DJI is amazing, as it says in the title. Anyway, that's my shilling for DJI today. Right, I need to catch up on the Super Chats a minute because I've missed a few. Right, Mike Bundy, $20. Thank you, my friend. You are amazing. I love Mike. If you don't know who Mike is, he's a majorly good guy. Helps us with some of the teardown stuff as well. He's just amazing. Icebomb, $10 Canadian. Thank you for that. Integrity is the most important. Thank you for that. Should I send back my deconstructed goggles? Mike Bundy shilling again. And Mike Bundy again. And Dr. T. Mike Bundy has $20. Thank you, my friend. And Eat Your Veg FPV. Really appreciate what you do in the honesty and tech detail you've been doing. Senior eye to eye, a couple of things. Wait there. You've been doing with Ian. We've not always seen eye to eye on a couple of things, but you're still my favourite channel. Thank you for that, my friend. I really do appreciate it. The Vista was the weakest VTX DJI made. Yeah, and it was still bloody bomb-proof, wasn't it? Very rarely they burnt out. Apart from the diode, they were a bit too sensitive on the protection diodes on the UARTs. Just a little bit too sensitive on the protection diodes. But at least you could generally fix the protection diodes or remove them and they would work. So, which was good news. So, okay. So that's why DJI is amazing. Now, before I move on, if you've got any questions, please do put them in the chat. I will try and answer that. To join his Discord, there is a link in the description. I do have a Discord. It is free. I killed 6 Vistas in a year. Wow, you're doing well. I've killed a few air units. Yeah, Spike. Look, I recommend a FetTech Spike Absorber on everything, right? Now, this leads me... I'm going to do this as this because I might have to... I'm going to record this bit as well. Now, I do have a bit of an announcement to make, and that is with regards to some of what I've just been talking about on DJI and boards and stuff like that, and specifically repair.wiki. Now, for those who've known, I've uploaded quite a lot to repair.wiki over the last 2-3 years with regards to FPV. So, for instance, if I just get up onto the desktop a minute and go to this one here, which is the old one, and go to there, I uploaded a huge amount of sort of repair guides and everything on FPV to repair.wiki. So, for instance, all the HDZero images teardown, they were mine. They are images that I took and uploaded. The HDZero VRX, again, all my images. Pretty much 95% of what was up here was mine. That's actually my desk pad. Underneath, you can see there now, and my repair stuff. And over the last few years, look, I've been updating and uploading as much as I could onto here to make sure that there has been info available for people, and it's been an amazing website. However, they've done an update, and they've moved to a new platform, and there is basically a situation with this new platform needs to transition everything over from the old one to the new one, and basically it hasn't happened automatically. If I go under drones, you can see there's nothing there at all. And the case as I understand it today is everything that I did on the original wiki is going to need to basically be reformatted and then re-uploaded onto the new wiki, or they'll upload it once it's been reformatted. Now, this is going to be a huge amount of work. And I've sort of been bumbling through in my head an idea that I had a while ago, which was, rather than this be out of my control, where I do a lot of it, rather than it be out of my control, I've decided to set up my own wiki instead. And it is going to be Mads Wiki. It's going to be called Mads Text Wiki, and this is it here. It is up and running, and I am launching it tonight. It's on its version 1 draft. The website, I've actually bought the domain name. fpvwiki.co.uk is what it's going to be called. I've taken a leaf out of JB's book, which is FPV Know-It-All, and I've gone for fpvwiki.co.uk because I can, rather than Mad's Tech Wiki. But this is now up. It has everything on here now that I had uploaded onto the original repair.wiki. However, I'm now going to be maintaining this one moving forward rather than the repair.wiki. It hasn't been taken down. That will stay there, but I'm not going to be uploading anything to that anymore. Now, watch out, Australian. I don't intend to be doing too many articles, but I wouldn't mind. I used to do a lot on RC Group. Now, there is one or two things I need to finish off on this, but as you can see, we've got it categorized here as well under digital FPV systems. I've put useful links. I've also put a section on supporting the open source projects. So, for instance, donate to Express ELRS, Betaflight, as well as FPV WTF. And I have also put a little bit about me down here at the bottom as well, and a donate section as I have on the channel. As it's my wiki, I'm going to do it. Now, in the guides, some of the guides do have links to some of my videos, but I also do explain everything as well. So I've done it a bit more with some of my content with the stuff that I've uploaded. So for instance, if we go on to the Goggles 2, you can see it has all of the goggles there. You've got the main picture, we've got the official overview with the spec, you've got compatibility info, FCC hack info. I've then got a link to my video on how to do it, some ramblings from me, some useful videos on them, and then the teardown images below, which you can click on, which will make them full screen like you can see there. And then I've also had stuff that's been shared with me as well. So for instance, these images on the goggles Integra, these were shared with me tonight. Now, I'll post the link in a minute, give me a chance. Where the images are shared with me where I'm not the owner or I don't know who the owner is, I have put a note on there saying these images have been provided from an unknown original source. And if you'd like to tell me who you are, that is that there. And again, we've got the insides of the Integra on things like that. Also, some of these images have been provided by the amazing Mr. Mike Bundy, who is here tonight and has donated on the super chats, and where they are labeled as such as well. So these images are provided from M Bundy and other unknown sources, by me and unknown sources. You can generally tell which ones are mine because mine are generally the blue backgrounds or the solid white backgrounds. That tends to be what my own images are. But we've then got DJI Goggles 2. I need to do the V1s and V2s. I'm just waiting for some images on that. We've got the O3 Air unit, not Al Bundy. You've got the info for that as well. FCC hack. I've also uploaded things like the O3 frequency chart onto here now. And you have all the teardown images of O3 as well as the other videos at the bottom there. And this goes all the way along for DJI. You've even got the write-up I did on the DJI P1 chipset, which I was talking about a little bit earlier. Latency testing, my video for the latency testing, but also the charts for the latency testing is now uploaded as well, directly for all the FPV systems, which I've uploaded too. Recording frame rate chart for O3, where people get confused on the modes. I forget at times just how much stuff I've put together for videos, and it's been nice to put it all in one place. Which gives you the recording charts and the frame rates for O3 as well. We've then got the same for Cadex HD and the same for HDZero. So for instance, if we go into HDZero goggles, you've got all the info and boards there just like it was before, as well with the repair guides below too. And then, just to give you, we've also got the Cadex Goggles X, where we go over the speeches, upgradability, features, the antenna layouts to make sure you know that, the images, credit Mr. Bundy there again. And also things like the overheating issue, because we need to talk about it. We need people to know about it and info on that as well. So, it is up and running. I'm going to put the link in the chat. It is obviously work in progress. It is going... There's going to be errors. There's going to be the odd mistake. There's some things I'm still trying to fill out. There's stuff I'm not 100% happy with. It's going to take a bit of time for me to get it fully sorted as well. But it has everything pretty much that we had on repair.wiki. And this is where I will be uploading this stuff to now as well in the future. Yeah, it's not HTTPS at the moment. I haven't got an HTTPS. I haven't got a plugin certificate for this one because I need to pay for it. It will be sorted in the next couple of weeks. It's just ignore the error message. It's a wiki. It doesn't necessarily need... It's not stealing your data, I promise. It's a WordPress site. And yeah, and look, and I wanted to put something down there about the... Let's Encrypt. Yeah, I just got to figure out how to get it onto... That I'm using a domain name server that makes it difficult to put free ones on, is the term I'll use. It's not HTTPS yet. It's not taking your banking info. You don't have to worry about it. It's a wiki. Don't worry. But yeah, where's my data gone? It's not... You're not putting anything in. But I have also put link to the open source projects here as well, which I think is really important that we do all support. You've got Express ELRS. If you don't know, it'll take you to the open collective, or put it behind Cloudflare. Yeah, exactly. Open collective website for that. And then you have the Betaflight, because they have 2 donation methods. Based on settings. Yeah, you might need to adjust your settings. And you also got FPV WTF there as well. And I've also put some links to some stuff. I'm going to be updating it, and I'm going to get the HTTPS things sorted as soon as I can. I can't remember how much money they wanted from me for it. You can get free ones. I wanted to have a look at how easy it is to install the free one, because I've got a hosting package with Ionos or whoever it is, because I'm not self-hosting because I can't be bothered. But yes, so look, it's up and running. The HTTPS will be sorted. At the moment, no, I haven't opened it up. I'm more than happy to take things from people if they want to send it over. My intention today is probably to allow some limited people to be able to put stuff on, but here and now I'm going to manage it just because I'm paying for it. The channel's paying for it. You're helping me do that. And rather than it get too messy, I'd rather try and update it myself and try and do it that way, is the plan. For now, at least. Welcome to 2024. But yeah, it's up and running. So the plan is for me to stop... Well, I can't upload to repair.wiki anymore because the original website has stopped. So now we're just going to have to let that run. But everything that's on there is here. And this is where I'll be uploading stuff moving forward. You're not going to see any Google ads. You're not going to see anything down the side there. Don't worry about that. I've bought the domain for the next 5 years. I just need to sort out HTTPS and figure out how to get a free one, or stick it behind Cloudflare, as someone said earlier. For a wiki, I'm not particularly concerned about HTTPS. Someone's going to put if it was me, I'd put a big cock somewhere. That's what I'd do. If it was me, I would be creating a picture of me with that image from Game of Thrones with the guy with the sausage. That's what would happen if someone had opened up their wiki to me. The only reason I didn't do it to repair.wiki is because that was, yeah. If you've seen the gif of the guy with the sausage. I think a third party should be designated to create the Madstech, not a shill article. Yes. And look, the plan for this is for it to basically remain as you've seen it today. This is not about generating income. I have decided to put, if you want to support the channel, a piece on the bottom. It's going to stay on the bottom. That's how it is. No, I didn't have any teardown images of the potato. full ones. I don't have a lot. I'd have to strip some of it out of a video, which I could do. If anyone has a lot of teardown images of a potato, more than happy to upload them with credit. I just don't have them myself. The domain name was cheap. I think it was 50 quid for 5 years. So the domain name was 50. I think it was. I basically paid a tenner a year for the domain name. I think it was 50 quid. It wasn't expensive. The hosting is what costs money. The hosting is the due bit, and I can't be bothered to host myself. But there, the domain name was like 50 quid for 5 years. But yeah, so it is up. It is alive. There will be mistakes. I want to do this as a bit of a, yeah, well, I couldn't go beyond 5 years with the purchase, but if it goes up, it goes up. We'll worry about it in 5 years. I can always change the domain name. I don't think it's important it has the same domain name forever. If it changes, the FPV community will know and they'll spread it around. This isn't about making money. This isn't where can we go? Best option is join my Discord. If you're on Discord, join my Discord and there is a dedicated wiki section. If not, just ping me an email. There is my email address is at the bottom of the page. Just ping me an email and I'll correct any mistakes from there. Discord is probably the best place to do it if you're around on Discord. If you're not on Discord though, ping me an email. My email address is at the bottom of the screen. There will be mistakes. This has been a bit of a... It's taken a bit of time. I started it, believe it or not, in November, when I had some time on my hands, and I had this idea because I knew repair.wiki was changing, and I was like, should I do it myself? And at least I retain control. What I don't want is this situation again of if something has to change, I have to... At least if I've done it, it's in my control. At the end of the day, it's my choice if I update it or not. My plan is to try and make sure we update it with as much stuff as I can. As I've said, I'm more than happy to attribute stuff to anyone who provides it. 95% of the content on there is my own. I intend to be adding a lot more stuff. So, for instance, I want to do all of the Express ELRS stuff. I'm going to have to do a back work or take images from videos for that. But I want to start doing all the Express ELRS transmitters up there as well. Look, the donations is there. I don't really feel there's a need to AdSense it a minute. I don't think it's going to get the traffic to warrant it. That's the reality. I don't really see the need for it. If there's a stage where the channel isn't able to fund it, supporting the channel helps fund this wiki. It's really simple. Patreons, buy me a coffees, that's what supports it. Everything that's been bought for this has been bought as a result of that. So, yeah. But yeah, it is a lot of work. It's surprising. It's surprising. And it all broke yesterday when I actually migrated it to the new domain name. And it all stopped working, which is lovely. And I've spent half of today fixing it again. But it's all done. It's a basic WordPress site. I am about as far from being a web designer as it can get, as you can see. But I think it's okay. It's good enough. What's important is, and this is what's important, I have a HDZero VTX that I have a problem with. I can go on to it. I can scroll down and I can go, oh, that's the VTX. Oh, there's the internal image. Oh, there's a cable there. I wonder if that's broke. Let's go check. And that's what it's all about. And that's the key to this, is being able to go on or go into the bottom and go in, oh, I've got no camera image. What happens? Oh, cracked interface I see on the original one is quite common. Let me go and have a look. So it's things like that. That's what's important about the website, is being able to have that repair info, being able to look on, say, the version 1 VTXs. Where is the stuff that fails? What is the problems? What is what can I check? And that's what this is about. So that's the plan. At Mads Tech, what about power protection with HDZero freestyle VGS in relation to Vista? Still not as good. Ironically, we're on the right page. If we look at the freestyle version 2, which we have the images for on here. So again, power management is very limited on these VTXs. So if we take a look at really this side of the board, we've got some power management on this board here. So you've got a power management IC with dual coils. You got a bit more on this than you have the others, but it's certainly not at the same stage as DJI. You've got some more power management here. DJI just have multiple, there's like 7 or 8 stages of power regulation on theirs. The freestyle is definitely better though. I would recommend Eliminator as your website builder is a plugin for WordPress. It makes life so much easier. Let me have a... I need to remember what that is. Never heard of Eliminator, but I will have a look. Would you consider taking pictures with the scale rule in the future? We could do. Yeah, there's technically no reason I can't. To be honest, most of the reason I've not done it is I've always assumed most of the images... Elementor. Ah, Elementor. I never read it. Sorry, I'm a bit far away from the monitor. I'll have to have a look. I've heard of it, but I've not used it. But yes, I need to sort HTTPS out. So, that's the wiki. It's done. It's alive. Now I get all of the errors and the noise of this is wrong, that's wrong. There's some areas which are a bit bare on it, which I'm not happy with. If I just take a look, it's the Avatar VTX pages are a bit bare. I'm missing the V1 and V2. I've got the V1. I've lost my images for the version 2 single antenna, which I'll have to take again for like the 3rd time. But I haven't got images of the new version 2. If anyone does, please let me know, or I will be ordering one in to do it. But these pages are just a bit bare. There's just not a lot of info here. I need to fill that out a little bit. The DJI stuff is all tidy and done. Avatar's just a bit thing. Also, I've done a link to the Walksnail.hub for the firmware, for those who don't know as well, which takes you over to the Walksnail app for the guys who independently host all of the Walksnail firmware versions. So for those who don't know, there is an independent app, and I've got a link to that there as well, which has every version of Walksnail firmware, which is available to download. We're going to come on to Betaflight 4.5 next. So, anyway, that's repair.wiki. No, it's not. It's fpv.wiki. fpvwiki.co.uk. I've forgotten the website already. Sod it. So, hey, Gah, how are you? Plans for ExpressLRS TX hardware photos. Yes, I intend to be doing all of the ExpressLRS stuff up there as well. In the future. So, all of the modules, but I've got a bit of backdating to do as well. But that may take some time going backwards. Going forwards will be easy. Anything new that comes in will be easy. What I might do is cheat and just take some screenshots of videos for the back stuff, if it's good enough. If it's good enough, I'll do it that way. Because I have all the original content. So for things like, for instance, I should have... which drive would that be on? I'm in the middle of... I've just built myself a brand new NAS server. I'm running TrueNAS. I've had a huge learning curve over the last few weeks. I'm in the process of just doing a massive data migration at the moment. One of 6 drives. I've got 18 terabytes of data I need to move on to the new server. There is 40 terabyte, 12, 24, 36, 48, 60 terabytes of storage, but it's in RAID Z2. So I got like 36, 35 terabytes of storage now on the server. I'm just having some issues getting it all the way I want it at the moment. Data migration is a horrible task, as I have learned. But I've built myself a brand new server, which is going to go in the corner from some spares that I had. What am I looking for? So I am looking for the Beta FPV. What was the name of the Beta FPV module? The really good one. It should be on this drive. Super G. Which it's not there. Interesting. Is it still in my home folder? Yeah, it is. That's why. It's here. So, for instance, under here, I still have all of the stuff from the Super G. So I've got the close-up images. So we should be able to pull some screenshots. It's like I got that one for the receiver, so I can turn that into an image. So there is some stuff. There is some stuff I can do. What is your NAS CPU? A Ryzen 3800X that I had spare. So I've gone... there we go, Wes, thanks. Only 220 people. The site should work really well if we have a look. Wes is trying to crash the wiki. Everyone! I love your word for FPV as well. TX module. Yeah, I haven't got the Namimno. Namimno are another brand like Neutron RC, which we'll come on to in a minute, which are like, who are they? But no, so if you've got any questions, put them in. We're going to have a little bit of a lull. No, low power, 3800X. I upgraded my desktop to a 5900X earlier this year because I had a deal on it. I had a 3800X before, but I upgraded it to a 5900X because obviously I can't go to 7000 series without a motherboard change. And I just had the 3800 laying around for ages. So I ended up ordering a motherboard. I ended up ordering 16 gigs of RAM. I've had all sorts of strange problems. So installed TrueNAS, which has gone fine. I ordered in 5 12 terabyte hard drives, N300s from Toshiba, which are in RAID Z2 configuration. So I've got 2 drive redundancy. Learned a lot about TrueNAS in the last week. Set the pool up, got everything running. And where I'm now struggling is migrating data in. TrueNAS is not great at taking data from existing drives and move it across. So to give you an idea, I didn't have a single data storage point. All of my backups, and this is, I have all of the raw footage for every video I've ever made, is on multiple hard drives, external hard drives. I'm talking 7 to 8 external hard drives. I keep buying 4 to 6 terabyte external hard drives, filling them up, and then moving on and moving on and moving on. So I decided to do it as a NAS, 36 terabytes. I've got about 18 terabytes of data in total, and I've got 36 terabytes in the first pool. But I'm now in the process of trying to transfer a bunch of the data over to... I can hear something. 1 second. Sounded like a radio. It's not that. It's the hard drives. and I'm trying to transfer all of the data over from the external drives, and it's a horrible process, as I've learned in TrueNAS. So what you do is you import the disk, and then it moves all the data, but it's not put it where I wanted it. It's put it into the wrong folder. So I'm now moving 6 terabytes of data that it's already imported into another folder, and that seems to be wanting to take 24 hours. So yeah, bit of a beast. To give you an idea of the NAS, let me just log in. So this is the TrueNAS homepage. So at the moment we're running at, we've got 16 gig of RAM. We've got the storage pool, which is currently 20% used, but we're doubling up the data at the moment. As you can see, AMD-wise, it's barely touching the sides of this this CPU. It really isn't. Although I've just had to... The reason I'm doing it this way is I was transferring data from... via the PC, but it turns out TrueNAS doesn't work really well with Realtek NICs, so I've just ended up having to spend more money and get myself some Intel-based NICs as well. Price-wise, just so people understand, I think I'm probably in for about 17. Buy some more RAM, it's cheap. Yeah, I've only gone for 266 as well. I've only put 266 in it. 26666, 2600 is what I've gone for. There's no point going for anything more in the NAS. It doesn't need the speed. The discs are the slowest part. I think all in, it was £1,000 worth of drives. So it was £1,100 worth of drives. So 60 terabyte, 5 12 terabyte discs was like £1,100. I already had the CPU. I reckon I'm in for about £1,500 is what I think I'm in for in total. Any ideas how to get hold of some Goggles X CAD files other than the ones already published? I need a different IPD. No, I don't. I don't know anyone who's created their own. TrueNAS does like a minimum of 8. 16's pretty good. The more you can give it, the better, because it uses the RAM as cache, basically. But I'm still limited by the disk speeds at the moment. Really, no. Unless Cadex share them, then you're not going to get them. I don't know any other way of doing it. I really don't. There's just no good way of doing it. Right. The last subject we're going to talk about before we go on question and answers and any ramblings is Betaflight 4.5 is out. But now, I'm not going to go over Betaflight 4.5 in great detail. Actually, JB has a really good video on it if you haven't seen it. Recommended FC for Ardra Pilot 3-inch. We'll talk about that after this. JB has a really good video on it. If you haven't seen it, I watched it myself as a good overview because I've been, there's a lot to pick up and bits through, and it was good to see. However, the real big cool thing about Betaflight 4.5 is finally official support for AT32. Now, if you don't know what AT32 is, it is it's an STM32 clone, but these are official clones. Now, this does take a bit of explaining. ST Microelectronics are obviously the company that make the STM32 based on ARM cores. There are companies that have been out there for a long time that have cloned the design, but they are not official ARM licensees, and they are not officially designed chips. They are just literally a reversed engineered copy of the STM32. However, Arteri is a company who is an official ARM licensee and are making their own equivalent versions of the STM32s. Now, there are a couple of these available on the market. We've got one from NeutronRC here, which is the AT32 F4, and that's not that. And then we've got the Blitz from iFlight. Now, if we just get them out, I can explain this in a bit more detail. Now, as I've said, these are what I would sort of call officially licensed artillery, officially licensed clones of the STM32. They're basically in-house designed chipsets by Artillery that are made to be pin for pin compatible with the STM32. Now, I've zoomed in there as far as I can actually go, but let me come up and get it under. Let me turn autofocus on. Is it going to work? Asking Panasonic autofocus. So let's get close. It's going to do it. Come on. Oh, Panasonic. Oi. So there is the Artillery chipset, the AT32 F435. It looks a lot like an ARM STM32, but what you can see is it has the official ARM logo because it is a licensed product, which means they are paying ARM for use of their cores, and this sort of makes it basically an official clone of the STM32. Now, sorry I'm so wobbly. Let me get it down to a reasonable height. God, the Panasonic autofocus. Wow. Come on. Now, these have been supported in Betaflight up until now, but they've only been in sort of test branches. However, full support for the AT32 is now there. What is great about these FCs is they are cheaper than the STM32 equivalent SoCs. Whilst there was a shortage of the STM32 at one point, which made getting hold of them difficult, today that is less of an issue. The real great thing about these, though, is the fact that it puts more competition in the marketplace, and they're a lot bloody faster than the STM32 equivalents. For instance, these ones are coming out about, I think it was like 15 to 20% faster than the equivalent STM32. The clock speeds are higher on these. They have more RAM. And overall, they're just a faster running processor. Now, what's really good to see is that you're starting to see these come from various manufacturers. iFlight have one. Beta FPV have one as well. And then we've got the ones from the likes of Neutron RC, like we've got here. And again, I do ask the question is, who the hell is Neutron RC, if anyone knows? But we have their equivalent of it here as well. Let's just get in closer to that one. There you go. This is a really compact board. I have to say, it does look very well done. We're going to be doing a couple of closer looks at these under the microscope in the next week or so, just to have a look. They've even managed to cram on an analog IC. You got 20 by 20 and 30 by 30 mounting on this one as well, whereas the iFlight controller is only 20 by 20. These are both incredibly small. Both have flash as well, look. Both with WinBond chips. You can definitely see there's a bit more power regulation on the iFlight. Oh, no, actually is there. It's just located in different places. You've got a good input diode there. But yeah, overall, I have to say, really good to see. The great thing with these FCs is just how cheap they are. These things are so cheap. Even the iFlight one is very, very cheap as well. You're definitely talking cheaper than you would get from the likes of an STM32. If I just hop over to the desktop, we don't really know who Neutron RC are as a company, although I have heard some whispers. But you can go on here and look, you know, $25 for that flight controller there. Yeah, it does look like more input caps on the iFlight. $25 for the flight controller there, which is just incredibly cheap. It really, really is. Now, let's be honest. You're not going to want to install one of these on your 7-inch long-range quad. But for a park basher, it's really hard to argue these aren't good value. Speedy B are someone as type has just said there who have been pushing the pricing down and down and down. If we look at Neutron RC stack, let's have a look. Have they got a stack pricing? No, I'm not. Oh, I chose flight. Did I choose flight control? That's all products. So, have they got a flight stack? I see an AIO, but I can't see a stack. It was really just Happy Model. That makes sense. That really does make sense. Probably using the same factories and stuff, Wes, as well. Does sort of make sense, that. I can't see a stack, which is interesting. You've got the ESC, though. The 4-in-1 ESC rated at 50 amp is $33. So $33, $53, $58 for a flight controller and stack. If we go to Speedy B, Speedy B have been crazily aggressive with their stack pricing. F405 Vision 4, $70. So let's just have a look at the Mini. What about their Mini stack? You can get the F405 Vision 3 for $59.99, which is cheaper. BL Helios. Ooh, 20 by 20 stack. Here we go. Wes has said we have cut ties with Newton, though, because they are heavily associated with Dusking. Pre-order now, $59.99. So Speedy B are going to do one very similar, and that is with an F405. It's okay. The F405 Wing from Speedy B is a very good controller as well. Speedy B is smashing it out of the park. I've been putting Speedy B controllers in the last 2 quads that I've built. In fact, that Chris Rosser build I showed you earlier has the Speedy B controller in it. I just didn't use their ESC. So I didn't use the BL Heli-S. I didn't want a BL Heli-S ESC. The 55. I didn't want that on the Chris Rosser build. So I've put in a Hobby Wing full-size ESC. Rather than the Speedy B. I'll use the BL Heli S on something else, is what I will be doing. This might go in. Tony, what's your name? Might be putting this in. What's your name? Tony. If anyone knows who Tony is. I have a Tony behind me. But it's a bit heavy for the Tony. So I might need to find a smaller build. How's it going with the AOS 5 build? The AOS 5 build is complete. I flew it yesterday. So that is the AOS 5 build there. I was flying it yesterday. You can see that there's a flight stack in there from Speedy B. And there's a... that's got the Hobby Wing ESC on it. Yeah, all looking good. I'll share some thoughts in a minute. That's about all I can show you on this in a minute. The review, look, it's going to be hard for me. Did I find out the cause of the motor noise? No. Not yet. So, you've had the same in your AOS motors. I made a comment. Okay, so I've flown the AOS 5 version 5 with the Supernova motors. Okay, so in a nutshell, and this is going to be a real hard one to give a review. Why are you wanting... I can't say... I hate this hides What's trying to be said? Someone posts something so it moves. Why am I waiting on a stack? Wanting a stack versus an AIO? I prefer stacks. Sorry. Okay, so the Chris Rosser frame, and the frame flies incredibly well. Okay, it does fly very, very nicely. It flies as nice as the original AOS. I've always liked how Chris's frames fly. It flies very, very well. The Supernova motors go very, very well. I don't really know what more I can say. Can I say this frame is better than his last frame? No. Can I say it's worse than his last frame? No. Can I say the motors are £5 better, because I think that's the cost difference in the UK, a set of Zings compared to Chris's, than the Zings? No. Look, I can't say anything bad, but I don't really know what I can say is good, because it flies really well. But so does the Nazgul. But so does a lot of quads. It is one of the nicest flying frames I've flown. I don't really know what more I can say. What I can't say is what it ain't is crap. So, you know, without an insane, you know, you can't really even do comparisons. You know, the only, you know, look, what you're looking for, there are frames that feel sluggish, okay? And what I mean by that is, you tend to find the longer frames have a bit of a sluggish feel to them. So the Master 5 is one of them. The Diatone Roma, they tend to have, I always tend to feel, they feel a bit, especially in pitch, you find it's got a bit of a wing to it, is the term I'll use. This doesn't feel that. This just, it does hang like hell. The one observation I do have is that the hang time on it is ridiculous. Honestly, it's like the frickin' thing's made of helium. It's not that it's light, because it isn't particularly light, but it's got a lot of hang time. But I don't really know how I can say is it better or worse than anything else? It's a fine frame. So look, frames have got to the stage of what is it we're looking to understand from a new frame. So is it really fragile is a very good measure. So is it going to snap something in a heartbeat? I would say his arms are quite thin. I think there's risk there. It is a bit frustrating that it is longer, which means you need a longer cable for O3. I actually probably, if I'm going to give an opinion, I think the AOS 5 version 3 and 4 frames were probably the best all-round AOS frame. But they had their faults as well. The AOS Trust would get hung up in trees in any crash. This won't. But the payoff for that is you've got slightly thinner arms and you've got a different design. So it really comes down to what are you looking for? It is a very, very nice frame. It is as nice as many of the other frames out there. What I think's really hard now is to sit here and say, among all of these frames, this one is better because of this. If we look at this compared to Chris Ross's AOS 5 Vision 5, JB's frame, okay, I can make some easy criticisms of JB's frame, simply the O3 isolation. That's a valid criticism. That's it. The rest of it looks great. That's it. You've got the Nazgul, the latest Nazgul frame. all of these sort of frames in this similar area, the SpeedyBee Master 5 version 2, they're all going to offer props out of view. They're all going to give you a nice flying experience. So what it then comes down to is how fragile is the frame? And that's really hard to test. You'd probably need 5 or 6 frames to really... You'd have to have a standardized smashing system to see how they behaved. You can't just fly a frame into a wall and say, oh, it broke the arm, it's not solid. 2 different crashes will have completely different profiles of damage. What you would need is the ability to crash every frame exactly the same way. A jig that slides the frame down into a wall at the end of the arm. A jig that slides the frame down at exactly the same angle between the arm and the front plates. A jig that allows you to smash the front plates on. A jig... You'd need to do it in many different ways to really understand if a frame's so solid. I would say Chris's frame is as good as all of the others. The downsides to it, as I said in the original one, is it is longer and the arms are a little bit thinner. I think it's probably not going to be as solid in a crash as the AOS with the truss system, but it's not going to get hung up in trees. So you've got one upside to one downside. Then you've got bigger frames that are designed for smashing. Bot grinders frame. The Tank by Let's Fly FPV. You've got all of these real thick bruiser frames that are gonna, and some others coming as well, that are designed to take a battering. It's not in the same league. I don't think there's anything particularly fragile about the new AOS. I just don't know if there's anything particularly stands out as it being the next greatest thing. I think Chris has made a sideways movement, which is an absolutely valid one. I think he's done a great job on the frame. I can't tell you, though, I didn't like the original AOS. I think mine is the version 2, in fact, I've got behind me. It might be a version 3, but I got a version 2. I think it must be a 2, because wait, the version 1, then the version 2, then the version 3 was the 03 one, then he redesigned it with the new plates, which was the version 4, and now he's got the version 5. There are lots of good frames out there. I think you're at the stage now with all of these frames of, if you like how it looks, it's probably going to be okay. If you want a complete basher frame, you want to be looking at the bot grinder or the, you know, the demi-bot. If you want a smasher, it's got to be the demi-bot, isn't it? Or the Tank. You know, if we go to Rotor Riot, frames, 5-inch frames, you know, I think, you know, look at all of these frames. There's so many frames out there. There's, you know, all of these are going to fly well, aren't they? Let's be honest. They're all going to fly decent. You know, if you want something super solid, there's the Tank. You know, you've got the Demi-Bot if you want absolute out-and-out monster. I need to get a Demi-Bot in. Do you know what I really do like? Where are replacement parts for the AOS version 1s? This is actually a really interesting point, AVI. I'll come on to that. Let me just finish on the Demi-Bot. I really like short frames. I don't particularly like very long frames. I do like a more squished frame, generally. I need to order in a Demi-Bot. I really need to get myself one of these. It's a great looking frame. Those frickin' arms are evil. This really reminds me of my old Thug frame, for those who've been around a long time. The Valador is another great frame. I've got the Valador here. Really good frame. Can't complain about the Valador at all. Mid-length, not too long. The Valador is... See, this is interesting. One of my all-time favourite frames is the SpeedyBee. Okay? So, And where's the Valador? Valador, it's over there. Okay. So, too many quads. To be honest, too many quads. It's getting silly. I have always really liked. This has always been one of my favourite frames. For those who don't know, it's the Speedy B. I can't remember the model. The model. It's like F522 or something. Quite a short frame. Just one of my favourite quads, period. DJI full-size air unit in the back. Quite an old build now, this. This quad just is one of the best flying drones I've ever made. It just works. I love this quad. I really, really do like this quad. I've never tried the Superfly frames. Seen some really good comments on them as well. But look, I love this frame. This has always been one of my favourites. Bit of a basher. It's been in the mud many times. Survived. Never broke it. Speedy B nailed it with this. They really did. You then got the Valador. And this, in my opinion, is sort of the newer version of this Speedy B frame. I like what they did here. Everything about this is good. I had to take the VTX out of this one because I was using it for something else the other day. But I think this is a really decent frame. No complaints. But again, like the Speedy B, not too long. If you look at the length of the frame, it's actually only that long there. If you look at some of the more modern digital ones, everyone seems to be going for this bloody long stuff. So if I look here at, this is the Speedy B. Just look at the length difference in this frame, okay? So if I just level the back up there to there, that there is where the Valador stops. So you've got these manufacturers making a lot more sync, but there's just so many good frames out there now. So I do like shorter frames like this. And I do think the Demibot looks like one of them. The Demibot definitely looks like a shorter frame. And I like that. I like that a lot. Now, something that AVI's just mentioned is a good point. And he asked the question is, and this actually is a very good question for not just Chris Rosser, but it's everyone, if I'm honest as well. And this question is this. So we have all of these new frames from manufacturers, from Chris Rosser, from Speedy B, from lots of people make frames every year. How much longevity and availability, though, is there of spare parts if you need them? So we're now on the AOS 5 version 5, and AVI asked, where's the replacement parts for the AOS version 1 frames? Now, I would expect CNC Drones to be able to supply you everything for that drone, because they have been one of the main manufacturers of them. It's not like he's not going to have the designs on tap. So with regards to Chris Rosser's frames, I wouldn't expect it to be too difficult to get spares. I would expect them to be available, maybe not on the website, but if you contacted him, I'm sure he would be able to get you the parts. He should have the design. So frames is there. That's all of his AOS. Replacement parts. Oh, look. Legacy designs. There you go. AOS 5. AOS 5 version 1. Version 2. Version 2 color. 03. So AOS 5 version 1. There you go. All of the parts are available. So actually, that is really cool. I didn't even know that myself until I've just done that. So for Chris Rosser's frames, you can actually get everything. However, the real question here is from a lot of the others. With regards to Speedy B, iFlight, and others, the longevity does become a question. And actually, there's a real good argument here based on this that Chris Rosser's frames are going to give you a lot more longevity than others because all of the parts are listed here on CNC Drones' website. And Chris is around. I would think Chris should have, and should... I'm ignoring that bad for life. I'm going to have to cut this. You should be able to get everything for a long time. That's the reality. So, it is an interesting question, though, when you see all of these frames, like the Speedy B ones, how long you're going to be able to get arms for. Here's an interesting, let's just, I don't know, did they change the arms on the Master 1 compared to the Master 2? They might not have. But here's the question. Can I get arms for my original Speedy B frame? Well, they've still got it listed on the website. They've still got it listed, but can I... No. Oh? Oh? Can I? No, out of stock. So if I break that arm, I'm stuffed. CNC will cut as needed. Look at that with the Speedy B. Yeah, look, if I break that. Yeah. So I'm stuffed on that Speedy B frame. So actually, there's a good argument that Chris is going to give you far more longevity than anyone else, which is great to see, which is really good to see. When we were on CNC drones, it also allowed us to actually figure out the model numbers. Someone just said, cynically, that he's just released the version 6. No, we're not going to bite on that. I'm not saying it's not funny. But no, he hasn't released the version 6 yet. That's next month. Sorry, Chris. They'll cut the Source 1 frames as well. Yeah, CNC drones should have everything. So if you look, you got the V1, the V2, the V2. So the AOS 503 was the V3. Then the AOS 5, there was the V4, which has the plates with the vibration isolation. And then you got the new version 5. And then the version 6 in March. No, moving on. Moving on. How dare you make cynical accusations like that? So, with regards to Chris's frame, there will be a video coming. It's going to be in a couple of weeks. Look, the flight, I've got other stuff I've got to do first before Chris's frame. Look, in the end, with the AOS version 5, AOS 5 version 5, it is a fine frame. It does have some downsides compared to my version 2, which was one of my favorite all-time frames, but it also has some benefits. Is it the greatest frame I've ever flown? No. Is it a very, 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 very good flying frame? Yes. It's hard to really say more than that. And look, I can't give you scientifics. Now, with regards to the motors, and I just want to say the Supernovas, overall, no complaints. But again, I'm in the same position. I'm not a good enough pilot to tell you that they're dramatically better than a Zing. I think they're very nice motors. If you want to support Chris, look, here's what I would say. Yeah, and I hope I don't upset Chris with this. I think the AOS 5 motors are very, very nice. Sorry, the Supernova motors are very, very nice. You're getting a high-quality motor from RC in Power that Chris Rosser, in his testing, says offers better performance than many of the other motors on the market that you may or may not be able to feel in real-world use, in my opinion. And as a result of that, what I would say is this: you're buying a motor where you're paying a little bit more to support Chris Rosser, and you've got to make a decision if you want to do that or not. Can I quantify that they are £4 to £5 better than a set of Zings? No. I'm never going to be able to tell you that. And I'm sorry, I don't know if there's any amount of bench testing in the real world that's going to tell you that. They're a fine set of motors with zero complaints. flight time testing, but you'd have to build 2. The only way you could do it is, someone said, flight time. I didn't notice anything dramatic difference in my flight time. It wasn't, look, I landed at like 3.5 minutes and I still had a decent amount. When I tested the batteries, there was, I think they were like 3.7876 volts. I had a problem with the OSD, so I didn't have OSD on the build. It was a mistake I'd made. It wasn't the build. I had a configuration issue and I couldn't get it. I couldn't change it in the field. My SpeedyBee adapter wasn't behaving well. And I just flew on a timer rather than flying with an OSD. And it was working when I was at home, by the way. And I made a slight change and it screwed Betaflight up and I ended up having to reflash it. And I was flying to a timer on 3 minutes and 20 seconds. And by the time I landed, it was like, landed with about 3.5 minutes. And I think when I checked the batteries when I got home, they had like 3.78. So, yeah, that was pretty good. Pretty good. I think they're very nice motors. I like the things. I like cake. Recommended flight controller for Ardra Pilot 3-inch. 3-inch quad. Ardra Pilot is not a great piece of software for a 3-inch quad. I'd be going with iNav. I'd just go down whatever. Hello, Super Deluxe. I would just go down whatever. I'm shopping for motors. Captain Bride, just got home and I'm shopping for motors. For Ardra Pilot, I'd just go down whatever their compatibility list is and find the smallest controller that does what you want and it has I2C. Make sure you got I2C. Look, probably a Holybro, Maytech, one of those two. If you're going to go on it, on that size of quad, I'd be going iNav than Ardra. Ardra on a small quad is hard work. Probably a Maytech or look, choosing flight controller. You want one of the small ones. You want, Holybro, Kakute, one of the F7s. There you go. Get one of the Holybro Kakute F7s, something like that. You'll be absolutely fine. Maytech 743 Version 4. That's another very good flight controller as well. You won't go far wrong. H7 version 2, look, there you go. One of these should be fine. Just make sure, look, Ardra Pilot has a good list of compatible boards. These will all fly with iNav. They'll all fly with Betaflight. You can put on this whatever you want. Maytech do a 20x20. They probably do. 405 TE. So let's have a look. Which one is it? No, that's their PixPilot series. It might not even be updated on here yet. No. Maytech, sis. I always struggle with Maytech's website. Their website never works for me. Look at that. Is it just me, or does Maytech's website never work? Yeah, you want to be lowering the bids by a country mile for Ardra. Ardra Pilot out the box is sort of designed for 1 meter wingspans on planes, and yeah. Stick the H743. Yeah, you got a very good point, actually. Mo Oscar mentioned Ardra Pilot have had to split off. Don't go for an F or a H7, but probably H is better than the F today. That way you'll get full functionality. H743 Mini. It's a great little flight controller. I have that in... what is that in? Or it might not be. That might be my bench test flight controller. This one if it's that one, I have a bench test flight controller. H743 Slim. Oh, they have a H743 Mini as well, do they? Are there any AIOs that work? Probably not. AIOs is a more well, look, the AIOs will... Yeah, you're going to be talking more complex with an AIO. Much lower thrust and weight. Yeah, they are. They're designed for more weight. But yeah. The Groku. Yeah, Ultra Pilot on 3-inch builds is interesting territory. Okay, guys, what's the complexity with an AO? It really is, it's not complexity. You're not... It's whether the board layout on the AAO is the same as the board layout on the non-AAO. That's where your problem is. The complexity is the board layout the same so the target will work? That's where the problem is. It's not that the AAO itself is an issue. It's just if the target is compatible. That's where the complication comes. I'm not sure are there any AAOs listed on Ultra Pilot's website. I would get on Maytech. Can anyone else get on Maytech's website? Anyone else get to Maytech? Yeah, Dev could compile a target, yeah. Motor stand testing. MC Creations. Look, if I genuinely thought a motor thrust test stand would give me any real data, I'd have bought one. I don't know what test stand people are using. What's the best one out there? Can anyone name a motor test thrust stand? Can anyone name one? Yeah, Maytech seems to... Website is down. I think it's been down for a long time. Yeah, we're just DDoS in it. It was struggling and now we're DDoS in. MC Creations, thank you for the $5. I really... Is that dollars? It is. I really appreciate that. Thrust tester. You know, what is Maytech is eventually working for you. Lucky boy. Thrust tester. Small motor thrust tester you want, innit? Maytech is working eventually, yeah. Should I try Maytech this again then? I don't know what it is with their website. No, probably not, Mike. I'm just looking at motor thrust test stands. So look, I'm looking. There's eBay ones, 80 quid, 80 quid. Look, are these really accurate? Do you know what I mean? I'm looking down here, these motor thrust test stands. Oh, no, I'm not. And I just really don't... Look, these are all cheap crap. Do these really do anything? The percentage is your test. Exactly, that's my argument. See, Superdux, you've hit the nail on the head. My argument, and look, I don't want this to come across wrong, but Chris's motors... maybe X percentage better. Can a user really detect that? Okay, you know, I can say that this ESC is 10% better, more power than the next ESC on paper, but does that really translate into anything in the real world if it's at maximum throttle? You know what I mean? And this is the problem. I'm not convinced. Look, I think motor testing for me really, I think a lot of the FPV testing needs to move away from electronics and power-based into reliability and rigidity testing. So here's a point. Slam the motor into a fixed wall at X, a fixed rig which just always does it. How does the motor survive? How are the motors behaving over time? How hot do the motors get on a set stand? I'm not convinced power consumption... Let's be honest. One pump of the throttle... One pump of the throttle in a flip or a roll... Someone said Maytech are using HTTP, not HTTPS. They could be, like my Wiki. Ha! You're right. See, it's not just my Wiki that doesn't have HTTPS. It's Maytech. Don't order from their website, for God's sake. See, every good website has HTTP. In theory, won't a supernova survive full throttle longer without burning out? Potentially, but when was the last time I saw a motor actually burn out outside of an ESC crash? I think I'm never going to order from them, that's for sure. I think there is far more interesting things to be had from how strong it would be in a crash than it's 2% more. One pump of the throttle is going to be the difference between the battery saving on one and another. It is too many variables. We're at too many fine lines of margins. You know, when you got a motor with the bearing chews itself apart in the first 3 months, that's real world data. Everything after that is it's hard to quantify. Unibell durability and a good bearing. Yeah, you know, the number one thing is bearing. Is the bearing going to chew itself up in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? That's really the crux of it. And the Unibell, but even the Unibell, your frame is going to be a big factor in how much protection your motor gets. Taito Robotics, someone has said. Taito Robotics thrust stand. Ah, okay, here we go. How many millions of dollars is this? Is this the one Ross has got? Flight stand 50? What's the flight stand 50? 50 kilos of thrust. Flight stand 15. Mid-size UAVs. Here we go. 15. So 15 looks like their small one. 500. I want the 500. That's a beast. But no, flight stand 15. Here we go. Oh, it's going to be expensive. You know why? You know why this is going to be expensive already. You got to click a button to find out the price. If you've got to click the button to find out the price, you know it's going to be expensive. Does anyone really care? And that's my point. I really am not convinced it's the be all and end all. You're going to need a wind tunnel for proper testing. Yeah. I wonder how much that is. I can guarantee, right, the stand's like £1,000 and then the electronics is 10 grand. If you have to ask the price, you can't afford it, is the exact term. So, a crash is too ambiguous to quantify usefulness in a scientific way. Yeah, what you'd have to do is have the same crash, just like you do with Euro NCAP. You know, if we think of cars, we have a very specific set of tests in place for cars in Euro NCAP, which gives you a very specific set of tests, and you could do that with a motor, but you'd have to build a stand to do it. So you'd have to, hit the motor with an arm at speed, or, a number of things that you can replicate every single time. Has to be the same for everyone. What you can't just do is, I saw a Rotor Riot video the other day, and it was really good. And it was the 3D print drone, for those who saw it. And at the end, they sort of said, let's fly it into the wall and see if it survives. And it was a pointless exercise. You may as well thrown it in the air and hoped it landed the right way, because did it survive a crash? What you have to do is, how does this frame stand up against other frames in exactly the same test case? So I'm going to slam this frame against a solid metal object with 20 miles an hour. As simple as that. Do you know what I mean? So I crashed really hard, and I ran Mr. Steel V4s for 1.5 years, and they lasted longer than any of the motors. Yeah, exactly. And look, so when it comes to motor testing, when it comes to durability and things, I think you got to be careful not to get lost in the data. I think Chris, again, this really does come back around to Chris's motors. I think Chris makes a very nice motor. It's made by RC and Power. It is a quality piece of equipment. And what I probably say more than anything is, you're paying a premium to support Chris Rosser. If you're happy with that, do it. I think you're going to get a good motor. They do have a bit of a rattle to them, I've noticed. And if you don't want to do that, then don't. I think if you're going to get yourself a set of Zings, 1850s, you're going to be happy as well. I don't really see you're going to be upset. Although, I will say this. I had a Zing motor today where one of the wires came off. Brand spanking new. I can't really talk about it because it's nothing to do with the motor itself, but the wire came off. No, experienced motor is not going to make you a better pilot. I got to go, are Bell motors superior to other motors? Superior is a complex. Unibell, in theory, means that there's less chance of it separating. But a proper Bell motor that's pressed shouldn't ever come apart anyway. Again, it's who it's made by. It's a bit like saying, here would be a question, would a $5 Unibell motor be better than a $25 two-part motor from T-Motor? Very complex. Very complex. Right, before we wrap this one up, I'm going to wrap it up in 2 minutes. I want to show you one last thing. What's your name? What's your name? My name is Tony. Now, I have got a video coming on this, but I did just want to quickly show you Tony. For those who don't know what Tony is, it is the Flyfish RC Tony frame. This is an ultra lightweight 5-inch quad. And when I say ultra lightweight, it is incredible how light this frame is. Just to give you an idea, right? This is a 5-inch frame. Let me get my scales. I need to go find the top. 1 1 second. Look, it hasn't got screws, obviously, so you're a bit off on the screws. But what's it? 54 grams. It's just ridiculous. Now, as we've been talking about crashing, this is not a frame you're going to want to crash. I can tell you that. I'm in the middle of doing a build on it. I really like this frame. It's got 1 or 2... Yeah, really should have an AIO. I was going to go with a Speedy B stack, but I might order an AIO for this. You could be right, C-Mac. I have got the Speedy B 20x20 stack, which this one was going to go in it, but that weighs... What's that weight? 19 grams. What's an AIO going to be? Half that, innit? I need to have a look at an AIO. My Tony is 211 grams without the battery pad. That's cool. There are some compromises on this frame, though, and the one big one is, the one problem is, and I actually had to order some screws because the instructions are a bit all over the place on this, and they give you some screws to go through there that hold it together. However, that's where your flight stack screws go, and you need longer ones, which I had to order. But to change the arms on this, you're going to need to remove the flight stack screw, unfortunately. There's going to be no way to change an arm on this without removing one of the flight stack screws, which is a little bit annoying. It's not end of the world, but it is a little bit annoying. But if you were going to change an arm, you're going to have to remove the screw for the flight stack. 6 of one, half a dozen of another. But I actually really... Look, this frame is very thin. It's very lightweight. I'm really looking forward to flying it. I am going to order an AIO. I've just been convinced into it. I want to keep the weight down. It's not weak, but the arms will bend. You know, it's solid. Tony 5, yeah, it's 5-inch. Tony 5. What's your name? Tony. But you are going to want some custom screws for it. Flyfish RC have also sent me over their smaller motors for this as well. I'm not going to be putting 5-inch motors on this, that's for sure. Should we put the Supernovas on and see how it goes? AT32. Do you know what? I could. It looks like they took a page from Tommy Too Fiddly. Yeah, I think I'm not going to criticize the fact that you have to undo the screws too much that go through the stack, because I think it's not designed to be crashed. They've issued me 2004s is what they've sent me. The 2004s. Yeah, I do have the 2004s. And I'm going to be putting them in a 6S, probably a 6S. I might have to. I haven't got 6S batteries this small. Yes. Well, actually, I'm thinking about putting HDZero on this to try and keep the weight down as much as I can. I'm thinking of doing this as a HDZero build, ultra lightweight. I'm thinking RC and Power 2104s. Nice. They've sent me their 2004s, sub 250 2004S. I've got 4S 850 packs. I just don't have 6S. Naked 03. I haven't got another Naked 03 kit. I'd have to make one. I could order another Naked 03 kit. I was thinking ultra lightweight would be a HDZero air unit. Is what I'm thinking. Ultra lightweight HDZero, because that would keep the weight. Make it analog. Avatar version 3D cased would fit. Yeah, you get the Avatar on there. I'm just thinking ultra lightweight, ultra low latency is what I've got in my head. Because it ain't going to be a long ranger, right? It ain't going to be flying long range. It ain't going to be flying really anywhere outside of the field. No one expects analog. And I'm just thinking to keep the weight down as much as I can. And I could actually try the Nano V3 camera in this. GNB 6S3. Yeah, I'm going to have to order some GNBs. So why not long range? I don't intend to fly at long range. There's no reason you couldn't if the battery thing. But HDZero will be fine long range. Those that don't go behind a branch. Or a leaf doesn't fly between me and the craft. Ooh, sassy tonight. Too windy in Wales. 25 milliwatts, of course. But I've got a couple of spare ultralight 5-inch, great for long range. I'm just thinking I could actually. I have got the HDZero. Whoop light. 200 milliwatt one I could stick in there. That would see it. The question is, ultralight 5-inch for long range. The question is, do I want an? Here's the real question: do I go ultralight, short range, ultra low latency, as light as I can go? To go, this is as lightweight as I can do, or do I go lightish, but with O3, say Avatar. It's brand, you know, there's room here to do two builds. I could be tempted. Here's the thing, because here's something interesting. I actually have two sets of motors. Shall I order another frame and build two? That could be cool. I could actually, if I order another one, I could build, because I could do one 4S, one 6S. So the 6S, short range. 6S, short range. This is the Tony 5 by Five Fish RC. So 6S, short range, smasher, HDZero, ultra lightweight on and then I could do 4S, longer range, because I have a spare set of motors. I just need to order two AAOs then. And then put a GPS. That is an idea. That is an idea. And do one with HDZero ultralight and just go, this is as light a 5-inch quad as you can build. Literally as light as a 5-inch quad as I can build. And then you could do Avatar 1S, but the question is the price per ultra low latency with the performance relatively weak 2004 motors. I think they'll be all right. Do a 1S 5-inch quad. I think I'm going to do two. I think I'm going to do two. I'm going to order. Can I get the Tony 5 in the UK, or I'm going to have to order one from Flyfish? Can I get one in the UK? Oh, yes, they're in stock in Unmanned Tech. Are they in stock anywhere else? I need to order some batteries anyway. It's in stock. Only two left. 30 quid. Job done. 2004 motors on that build will be weak. Not really if you keep the weight down. Conformal coating. Snow is coming. Conformal coating guide with a long-range build. Are my switches brown and blues? They're reds. As long as it's not stupid heavy. Yeah, you got to keep the weight down. But I got six. See, the 6S's, you're not going to want the 6S's on a long range. Your FPV have them. You're not going to want the 6S on a long range. Although, you might want the 6S for the bit of extra power and put the 4S on the ultralight. Interesting. Right. I'm going to think about this. Need light props for a small motor. Not too much rotational. Yeah. Yeah, they shipped some props with it. I don't know. What do they send? I need to find them, so I might need to order some more. HQs. What are they? 5x3, two blades. There. As I've got 2 sets of motors, I'm tempted to do 2. Right. We're going to end this stream there. I want to say thank you for spending some time with me tonight. It's great to be back. 2024. We should be back same time, same place next week. Look after yourselves. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who donated the super chats. You are incredible. Really do consider checking out the wiki, which is available www.fpvwiki.co.uk. Not HTTPS. I'm sorry. It's going to give you a warning. We're going to get that fixed in the next week or so. Stay safe. Look after yourselves, and I'll speak to you soon. Button 1, button 2.